it was always there, its lightning-struck plush face staring wildly out upon the ravaged fancy goods counter. It would be packed in its box again and consigned to its long summer sleep. It had seen 3 towns and many changes. The $4 that Ferdinand Brandeis had invested in it remained unturned. One snowy day in November, Ferdinand Brandeis died a fortnight later, Mrs. Brandeis, entering the store, saw 2 women standing at the fancy goods counter, laughing in a stifled sort of way. One of them was bowing elaborately to a person unseen. Mrs. Brandeis was puzzled. She watched them for a moment, interested. One of the women was known to her. She came up to them and put her question bluntly, though her quick wits had already given her a suspicion of the truth. "What are you bowing to?" The one who had done the bowing blushed a little, but giggled too, as she said, "I'm greeting my old friend, the plush album. I've seen it here every Christmas for 5 years." Ferdinand Brandeis died suddenly a little more than a week later. It was a terrible period, and one that might have prostrated a less resolute and balanced woman. There were long-standing debts, not to speak of the entire stock of holiday goods to be paid for. The day after the funeral Winnebago got a shock. The Brandeis house was besieged by condoling callers. Every member of the little Jewish congregation of Winnebago came, of course, as they had come before the funeral. Those who had not brought cakes and salads and meats and pies brought them now, as was the invariable custom in time of mourning. Others of the townspeople called too, men and women who had known and respected Ferdinand Brandeis. And the shock they got was this: Mrs. Brandeis was out. Anyone could have told you that she should have been sitting at home in a darkened room, wearing a black gown, clasping Fanny and Theodore to her, and holding a black bordered handkerchief at intervals to her reddened eyes. And that is what she really wanted to do, for she had loved her husband, and she respected the conventions. What she did was to put on a white shirtwaist and a black skirt at 7 o'clock the morning after the funeral. The store had been closed the day before. She entered it at 7:45, as Aloysius was sweeping out with wet sawdust and a languid broom. The extra force of holiday clerks straggled in, uncertainly, at 8 or after, expecting an hour or 2 of undisciplined gossip. At 8:10 Molly Brandeis walked briskly up to the plush photograph album, whisked off its $6 price mark, and stuck in its place a neatly printed card bearing these figures: "Today, 79 cents." The plush album went home in a farmer's wagon that afternoon. End of chapter 1.